There we go. Yeah. Yep.
All right, joined here with men's basketball head coach Mike Dunlap, Emilek Jallow, Yaak Yaak. Coach, let's just kind of visit the start of your games from last week, your 2-0 road trip down to Fort Lewis, and then went down to Highlands in New Mexico and came away with wins both times.
Well, I wish you would have told me there was going to be a rock fight and that was, the Hillbillies, because we went over there and it was the Hatfield and McCoys as far as the rivalry goes. It's for real. And people show up and they remember a defeat like from 7 years ago. And so if you're the player or the coach, it's hot there. You go in and everybody just wants to annihilate you. And so what I thought our guys did well was deal with the pressure of really not having that understanding what that rivalry means with Fort Lewis. But in a quick hurry, we begin to understand. And I thought under the duress of them being a very good team, well coached, that our guys performed under the pump. And that's the best thing that I can say. And yeah, we did a great job on the boards. You can tell that we're ascending to be one of the better rebounding teams in the league. And then when you have both these young men next to me, they're both shot blockers, so they can protect the rim. And they did a great job of doing that in that game. And I think that changed the penetration that Fort Lewis wanted to do. And hence, we won.
Mm-hmm. And then talk about the New Mexico Highlands. That was your second time seeing them, really high-scoring offense, and you guys were able to come back from an early deficit and really kind of take the game away.
It's a trap game, and I don't say that because of any other reason. Well coached and athletes, they have that. And then they were the leading rebounder team in the league for a reason. They press the offensive boards. So, again, one, you have to be ready to play there. It's a different place. And then a second is that with respect, I say that because I was at Metro and it was a hard game to win. And then they came after us and we got down by 14. How unusual for our team. So, we're in a corner and we come back and we're a +4 at halftime. And then from there, it became basically a possession by possession game. We got a little bit of a spurt, but then their press impacted our ability to, not have high turnovers and things that drive coaches crazy. And then it gets you excited. And the next thing you know, you're yelling at your players. But I did all of that. But nonetheless, is that to get out of there with a W, knowing that Fort Lewis had lost to them and they had a 2-game roll going, I was very, very happy that we were able to do that.
They were both tight games, but in each of them, you had 5 players scoring the double digits. Talk about how the offense has really just kind of became into their own as of recently.
Yeah, if you look at our ascension, we've had 14 games. We've won 11 of those. So it means that some of those guys that were averaging 17 or 8 points a game are now in that double digit. So we're hard to guard because we run a motion offense. We're a pass-first team. And now those guys like Mason is now shooting the ball in the last 4 games from the 3 at a high rate, whereas he was like 0 for 50 before that. And then I'd say Harvey's getting much more comfortable from the 3, and then obviously Ty can carry his load. So we're becoming more of a outside-in team at certain phases of the game, which we've always been. Just throw it at the glass and go get it.
Mm-hmm. And before I talk to Yaak, kind of talk about him. He's had a few starts recently, really big for the team, double-doubles in both those games. Kind of talk about his impact. And, you had Mortimer starting at center most of the year, kind of the bruiser as per se, and then he was more the finesse. About his impact has been lately.
Right. The greatest thing about this team is their ability to let the coaching staff coach them hard and then also make those changes as we see fit. I don't think Yaak was ever comfortable coming off the bench. But in his name of team, he accepted his role. And then his development and the way he's gone, he's just improving. The same with him. They're improving before your very eyes. So that has really bolstered us. And now with Will always being foul prone, now he's not so much because really the eyes of the officials are more on Yaak and that kind of thing. Your starters usually will get the adrenaline of the officials early. And it's an extra foul or two, and now that's really helped Will a lot.
And then asking you, Yaak, like I just mentioned, getting those starts, those couple double doubles. Talk about your comfortability. I mean, you're one of the guys in this team who's played 1 year, not as much of a freshman like many of the other players, but you've kind of came into your own lately, really rebounding and shooting the ball well from the inside.
Yeah. This time of year, teams either go up or go down, and we've been able to ascend, like Coach said. And I just wanted to play my role. Coach has always harped on rebounding early from the beginning of the year. Make that your sole focus, your job. Protect the paint and rebound. And been able to do a pretty good job of that recently. Can still improve. Long ways to go, but I think the last 4 games have been pretty solid.
I'm asking you, you saw a lot of your minutes have progressively gone up throughout the year because you made a bigger presence on the defensive end. Kind of talk about your growth that you've done from the beginning to now, kind of adjusting the college ball and, averaging almost a block or 2 a game now, it seems like Yaak.
Yeah, I think that transition from high school to college was definitely something that definitely impacted me a lot. But with the help of Coach Dunlap and his confidence in me, I think it's gone to help me a good amount of ways, and having my confidence that I know I can guard good ball handlers, good scorers out there on the floor, just making the right rotations in the defense, and also helping my team be the best that they can on the defensive end, and trying to make my presence known as much as possible.
We've talked kind of all year with a very freshman-heavy team. There's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows, but what have you guys learned about yourselves and this team kind of as the season's gone along?
That you can go one more rep, one more sprint, one more possession. Coach has taught us that we can, push further than you think. So that's the main thing I've learned. And about the team, I mean, they're an amazing group of guys. I've said that all year, and people are gonna have long, lifelong relationships on this team. That's how close we are. It's been an awesome ride, and we're gonna continue to get better as a team and connect more.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of Yaak, I think this team is very resilient. In the face of adversity, we definitely have learned to push back, and I think that's really been a calling card of us for these last couple of games that we've played, for sure. Coming back from deficits and really pushing back, I think has really been our calling card. And like Yaak said, we have a lot of great guys on this team. I mean, amazing young men, and just a great group to be around and be a part of. So I'm really thankful that I get to be here and get to learn from great leaders like Coach Dunlap, and learn from people who have amazing experience.
God.
But
let go.
But yeah, definitely a great group of guys, and just glad to be here for sure.
I mean, you guys went from, a true hostile environment. I mean, there's so many. Ty's the only one really, and Fur, who have played at Fort Lewis, and I don't even know if they could tell you what you were in for. And then you go play on a purple floor, which I'm guessing is a first. But I mean, just the fact that you were able to kind of not just weather that trip, but to play well enough to beat both teams says a lot about how this team has grown. Could you just was there a point in that Fort Lewis game where it's like, they really don't like us, but that's okay?
Yeah. At halftime, we usually get a huddle, and I look around and I'm like, these guys don't like us at all. But you know what? I don't like anyone around here either. So everybody, got it really excited and energetic about that. And it's a tough place to play. A lot of the places in RMAC have some chippy crowds, and some chippy guys on other teams. You can really sense the rivalry. But during that halftime, we really banded together, and Coach did a good job. He could see it before New Mexico started that there's going to be a lot of talking. So he told us to just, let it go, focus on the game, and it'll take care of itself. So that's what we did.
Yeah, I think going back to that part of being resilient, Fort Lewis is definitely a tough place to play in, tough crowd. Definitely heard some things that were a little crazy in that crowd, but yeah. Just keeping our heads forward and keeping our heads in the game, and knowing that we have a job to do and that we want to get it done is the best way possible that we could. So,
yeah, and Coach, with the growth and the learning experience that was going to be this season, you're 2 games away from clinching a spot in the playoffs, and it's one of those things where you just kind of keep your head down and just kind of keep grinding away. But to see the reward that is kind of hanging there, it kind of gives you just a little bit more to say, hey, you can go do this.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that we are still trying to learn how to play with a lead, be it 6 points or 12 points, and we're on the cusp of understanding how to do that. And so the whole journey has been empirical in that when we went to Black Hills, great crowd, gnarly, get after you, win a game you're probably not thinking you're going to win. I'll put it that way. They're well coached. They've been to 2 Final Fours with the same coach. He knows how to recruit to what he wants. And then you come away with that win. There are these little toggles or bricks that we're putting in that are giving our guys confidence. And so I would say that the metamorphosis for this team is understanding that the connection not only to an identity to how we play, but understanding that you can trust those other 4 guys that are on the floor with you at that particular time happens through those games that are lost or won by 1 possession. And we've won our fair share. And so, I just think that it's really important. And the last thing is, no matter whether it's our team or Regis or Metro State or Mines or Black Hills or any team in this league, at this time of the year, you either drop off or you pick up 2 or 3 things where you do better. But the thirst has to be there so the dog days don't kick your ass, so to speak. And this team's done a good job of staying on point with practice in, practice out. And that's where I think we're emotionally mature. And it's showing in the stats, and it's showing in the fact that we're trending upward where we want to be trending at this particular time. And as for the playoffs, that's a reward, that's a treat that would be nice. But we try to keep that away from our guys, not so much that somebody asks a question, but saying that it's the micro things that you do that are going to make the difference in the execution of making sure that we screen for Ty so that he gets time and space to be able to shoot that 3. Well, that's an execution thing. And Bill Walsh always said that. He said that that when you're towards the end of the year, that make your paradigm execution and precision, as opposed to, hey, if we do this, we'll get that. And that's just, to me, quicksand for our group or emotionally, because we're not ready for that kind of talk because we're too young. And to put that on our guys, it doesn't mean that it's not the objective. All it means is that as a leader, just really reinforce the fact that you're on to detail. And then they'll say, you know what, that is, if we take care of that, the other stuff will come to us. And that's what's happening. And it's normal at this time of the year where we're leaning at the tape, but you got to come around that last bend and you got to gut it out. There's nothing pretty about this time of the year, in my opinion, in terms of trying to get that next win.
Coach, you talked a little bit earlier just about the metamorphosis of the roster. It feels like at times you guys haven't had a lead scorer in back-to-back games. The 2 guys besides you are kind of perfect examples. From a coaching staff, is it one of those things where you're like, we knew all along these guys were capable of it? Or is it once you've got in practice, you've had reps with these guys, you're like, we found something, we kind of saw something, we're going to run with it?
Yeah, good question. What we did see was the fact that because of our immaturity, that we were going to have to coach out of our pocket. Every coach has a system, and they say, okay, here's our identity, whether it's ball pressure and traps or that kind of thing with pick and roll, for example, or you go offensively and you say, hey, in the first 6 seconds, we're going to run it down their throat. And if we can play north and south, we're going to play free, shoot the 3, etc. So you identify that aspect. But I learned quickly with our group that certain guys had a hard time showing up game in and game out. And instead of complaining about it, we were subbing other guys in and they appeared. And so we just said, hey, there's going to be a randomness to how we're going to coach our team. And it's going to come to us during the game. And we have to, because the game will teach you certain things right then and there. And if you seize them, then you can adapt and adjust. And I think it's been our story for our team is that sometimes you go, where did Yaak go? Where did M go? And they're just trying to get comfortable with the expectations of, say, a home crowd versus playing at Black Hills. I would suggest in some regards, it's easier to do that on the road than here. Our crowd expects a certain outcome. And to make your team comfortable with that expectation, knowing that the team went to the Sweet 16 last year and it's a brand new organization, you have to kind of work to fall in love with that expectation. And it's not going to come to you right away. And so to answer your question, we've been coaching this team right out of our pocket. We've been adjusting on the fly. And it's tantamount to being in a Grand Prix and all of a sudden something happens to the brakes. But the driver says, I can do this. And then you say, okay, in corner 4, you have to be at this particular speed. So we've done that with our team. And we've said, hey, we're going to scrap our attack. And we're noticing that Yaak has an advantage. So we're going to Yaak instead of Ty, and we use Ty as a decoy. We've had to do it all year long.
And then I'm just curious for the, M and Yaak, a team where it feels like, multiple guys on the roster are taking huge steps forward in their play at once. Is it one of those things where it's kind of motivating and we're kind of all climbing up this mountain together? Is it one of those things where it's kind of, for lack of a better term, like a fear, like I need to up my play or else I'm going to get left behind?
It's amazing for me. To see everybody on the team take steps forward, it's only going to get us better. But it's also good competitive wise. We go hard in practice every day. So, and Coach let it be known early. There's no set lineup. People can step up in practice and earn their minutes. So it's great in the fact that we need everybody to step up, to really continue forward and do something special. But it's also it's great competitively wise every day in practice.
Yeah, I think for me, it's inspiring seeing my other teammates climb the ranks and get better as much as they can. And then for me to try and go and help them do that. And I think for me also, watching them grow and get into those ranks, I think for me, it also helps me see that I need to get there as well. So a little bit of that fear aspect, but not so much as it is more competitive wise. So I think Yaak hit it on the nail with how competitive it is inside practice and out. But yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely inspiring seeing my teammates get better and grow as much as they can.
And then, Coach, we talked about road environments already. You guys back at home, you got the Blizzard game coming up. Every game at this point is huge, but just, the energy and Brownson's going to be just a little different. What does that do for you guys at kind of a pivotal point of the season?
Well, to isolate on our band and to have our band in there, because not only are you getting the music and it's a power of the football game, because when they're there, you notice that they're outstanding. And then they come into this time of the year, they can come to the games and perform, but also is that they're kind of a sixth man and some of that vibrant language that they use towards the opponents. And so it's absolutely wonderful to have that, because I think they create a momentum with some of the people that are more conservative and how they view the game. We have a mixture of people in our audience. And so you just get a colorful kind of thing going on this time of year. And our guys have learned to embrace it, so that's good, for us. I love it. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at the climb to, say, the RMAC tournament and then beyond, you have to be good on the road. You have to learn how to win on the road, because it's going to be won on the road. And having been lucky enough to be a part of Final Fours and national championships, all of that stuff is done on a neutral court. So what we're learning, and also be it here or on the road, is what's the formula for winning? How do you do that? And there are 3 keys to winning games. And number 1 is field goal percentage, theirs and yours. Turnovers. because if you minimize those, you get more shots at a rim. So when your shooting leaves you, but you're taking good care of the ball, more attempts. And then finally on that is, those things that make a difference are rebounding. Because when you climb the hill, rebounding, you get exposed on the boards against the superior teams when you go into the Elite Eight or Final Four, or you're trying to win a championship. Rebounding is a key. So if you live on those three, and what's great about us is we're at this juncture, in the last 6 games, we've been the best rebounding team in the league. So that part we're taking care of. The one part that we have to work on, is everybody knows, is turnovers, and we're working on it mightily.
That's it.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.